Hey everybody, how's it going? In this video, we're talking about low-key sexy fragrances specifically for the fall. And I think I'm going to be doing this with all seasons. But what I mean by low-key is that these fragrances don't really have a tendency to push off that much. They don't have crazy projection. They're not beast mode, but they're things that when people kind of smell them on you in your scent bubble or when they're right next to you or giving you a hug, they smell really sexy and sensual. So we're going to start with, and of course, unisex, feminine, masculine, that's all going to be in this video. We've got a unisex fragrance here by Initio, and this one is called Rehab. And Rehab is a sneaky fragrance because it does have these spices in the opening, but there's also a lavender that really smoothens out this fragrance and makes it smell a lot more refined than it possibly could smell without it. Some people compare this to Spice Bomb Extreme by Viktor and Rolf without any of the roughness, and I totally see where they're coming from. And what I mean by this being a sneaky fragrance is within the when you kind of spray this a couple times, you might think that it's a very soft sort of scent, so it leads a lot of people to overspraying it, and then a couple hours later they're like, oh damn, this thing progressively is getting stronger. So it is a pretty soft fragrance in the opening, but even doing a small amount of sprays of this is just the perfect amount because it's a scent that you don't want to overdo, and it's a grower, you know what I mean? So don't think just because you might not smell this 30 minutes later that it's absolutely gone from your skin and your clothes. But with my experience with this Rehab fragrance, it smells great for about 5 to 6 noticeable hours, and on clothes it definitely lasts longer. But it's about like an arm's length, so maybe like half an arm's length to an arm's length of decent projection. So Rehab by Initio. Next is a fragrance I talked about earlier, which is Ombre Dior by Dior. And this is actually the fragrance that inspired this entire video because I was on the phone with my girlfriend. Oh, this smells so good. And she was saying that, like, we were basically kind of reminiscing on the first time that we met. And she's like, yeah, you smelled so good. I loved the fragrance. And it was this one. Now, I will say, this isn't like her favorite fragrance on me, but it's a scent that really leaves people wanting more because it's this very sensual rose amber fragrance. And to be honest, the rose isn't that heavy. It's not mature. It blends really nicely with that amber. And it's just this very approachable, warm, just like sexy teasing sort of fragrance, and it has this sort of classy elegance to it as well. Now, Ombre Dior is also marketed as a unisex fragrance. Some people think it goes more in the feminine direction because of that rose, but truly anybody can pull this off if they wanted to. Now, the best way that I've noticed Ombre Dior smells is like when people kind of give me hugs. That's when this basically works its magic because it's just something that you don't want to take your nose away from. And I don't really overspray this fragrance because, like Rehab, it's kind of a less is more type of deal, or especially if you're having an intimate date night, any sort of one-on-one, and you're with somebody that you really, your partner or a date, something like that. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance to throw on. And it's definitely something that a lot of people do not rock. All right, next we've got Noir de Noir by Tom Ford. This is a private blend fragrance marketed as unisex, but yeah, it is unisex to me. I was gonna say because of the rose of this fragrance, I could see it leaning a bit more feminine. In fact, there are more women that rock this than men because it kind of smells like Valentine's Day in a bottle. You've got this luxurious dark chocolate smell mixed in with some gorgeous rose petals and some wine in the background. And it's just this very romantic fragrance that can kind of teeter that gourmand, like that gourmand vibe, you know, where it's like you'll smell it and it'll kind of make you want to like lick on someone's neck because of, you know, it smells like Valentine's Day, or it smells like really, really delicious dark chocolates. And Noir de Noir is great because, like the other fragrances and like all of the fragrances in this video, it's something that once you catch that whiff of it, you are locked in. You know, it does not have to try to be loud to get everybody's attention, to garner those type of compliments, but it is something that has like, I'm sorry, there's Somebody's working on a yard somewhere if you hear some pounding going on over there. But yeah, this was definitely one of my favorite Tom Ford fragrances for a long time, or actually my top favorite Tom Ford scent for a while. It was my signature for a little bit, just because I have never smelled anything like it. It was a delicious fragrance that I wanted to wear. It didn't smell too much like food and dessert where I was kind of getting sick of it, but it was just the perfect type of amount. So this is a very romantic Casanova, you know, seductress sort of fragrance right here. All right, next, man, that thing's still going on, huh? Next is Molecule 01 by Eccentric Molecules. Now this fragrance, some people might agree or disagree with having it on this list because it can project, it can get loud, but it only really gets to that level if you're being active, okay? If you're kind of lounging around, if you're meeting some people at a bar or something like that, and you guys are sitting and just kind of talking or standing and talking, this is not really going to be something that's going to fill the room. This requires you to be active in order for it to really kind of set off and smell either amazing. Well, I'm going to say smell amazing because if you are wearing this to the bar, then that means you've probably worn it before and you like the way that it smells, right? Now, Molecule 01 is an ISO E super fragrance. So it enhances your skin chemistry. And on me, it smells very clean and addictive. On some other people, they kind of get a little bit of like a pencil shaving, woody sort of scent. I've heard people say they smelled like rust. I've heard people say they smell like laundry. It really varies from person to person, really depends on your skin chemistry. So this is a huge gamble of a fragrance, but like, don't get me wrong, all right? This fragrance is underrated in terms of sex appeal, at least in my opinion, because this is a scent that will have people scratching their heads, wondering why they want to keep smelling you when it doesn't smell like you're wearing a fragrance. Because this just smells kind of, it's going to be weird to say like skin, but it just smells like you're not, like that's just the way that you naturally smell, you know? So when someone's around you and they're like, damn, they smell so good, but I don't want to compliment that, because it kind of be weird just complimenting the way they smell and they're not wearing a perfume or a cologne. So this one is just an amazing scent. But if you're somebody that wants your fragrances to perform a lot better, then just throw this one on and it can help with longevity. And I'll put a discount site link, by the way, for all the fragrances so that you can find them and you can kind of smell them if you want to. And it does global shipping. So all that information is going to be linked in the description box. Now we're talking about a fragrance that I used to talk about all the time, especially on TikTok. Egypt by 8 Bob. This is my favorite 8 Bob fragrance. I've only tried 2 of them. I've tried this one and 8 Bob, the original, but Egypt smells like a sexy desert. My example of this fragrance is if Indiana Jones was a bad bitch. And the thing is, this scent really can go in any direction, because to me, this is a very unisex fragrance and it kind of leans a little bit feminine, in my opinion. Actually, not a little bit. It leans much more feminine. But there are some guys out there that are like, oh no, this is a masculine fragrance. It smells very much like Obsession by CK, you know? So some people get that vibe with it. Again, skin chemistry is very crazy. But with Egypt, it really reminds me of, well, this is what I imagine, like a girl dressed up in like a sexy red dress. She's got the red lip on and she has the fragrance that is going to be turning heads. Now, can this project? It does. In the opening, it can project for maybe like past an arm's length away. But, you know, as this kind of like dries down, it becomes a really gorgeous fragrance. And don't get me wrong, in the opening, it's still that gorgeous desert sort of sexy scent, but this is just so alluring, especially when you're close to it, because there are not a lot of people, and I doubt that you are gonna run into somebody wearing a scent that smells like this, because it kind of smells a little bit ancient, but not in a dated way, kind of in a way of like how people think Cleopatra's hot, you know, like that is what I think of with Egypt by 8 Bob. But definitely a very sultry, seductive, unique type of fragrance that I guarantee you will not be smelling at the bar. You will not be smelling at the clubs, the lounges, any sort of restaurants. It is in a league of its own to the public, all right? Next up, we have, oh, hold on, where did it go? You know what? Let me kick it to the designer side real fast. I haven't talked about this fragrance in a minute, but I do love it because it was my very first signature scent that I chose for myself. La Nuit de l'Homme by YSL. God, I love this. It's like every single time I smell it, it makes me want to wear it again, you know? So La Nuit de l'Homme is this sexy cardamom fragrance. Now, the downside to this scent that everybody gives it hell for is the fact that it's more of a skin scent. It doesn't really perform that well, and I get it, but again, this video is about low-key sexy fragrances. So something that, like, it is a skin scent, and it smells amazing. Now, if you're somebody that wants it to perform better, the easy solution is to overspray it. And thankfully, this is not a fragrance that when oversprayed gets nauseating, gets cloying, gets everybody nauseous. It does not do that. In fact, I remember I went out one night doing 17 sprays of this fragrance, and I got endless compliments. I didn't choke myself out. Nobody else got choked out around me. I just was met with a lot of love. Now, La Nuit de l'Homme is marketed as a masculine fragrance, but of course, if there's any ladies like me or any ladies that want to try more masculine scents, give this a shot because it doesn't smell as masculine on a woman's skin, and it just smells like, it's kind of like the perfect sweet spot in my opinion, because this was getting a lot of compliments from men and from women. They're like, oh man, that smells really good. And the thing is, I thought somebody would pick up on how I smelled because La Nuit de l'Homme is a fairly popular designer scent. This is something that a good amount of guys out there own. So the fact that I went out and I was talking to both guys and girls alike that I know wear colognes and perfumes, that none of them were like, oh, you smell familiar, or you like, I wear that fragrance, you know, it just boom, went over their heads. And I remember after I said the name of it, this one guy's like, no way, I wear that one. So it just really smells different. Some people are gonna really disagree with that statement, but I mean, I'm speaking from my experience. Skin chemistry is a huge game changer. So don't let the labels of these fragrances stop you from wanting to try new things. All right, so La Nuit de l'Homme, great skin scent. Now, man, I was debating on I'm not gonna put pie on this list because pie is actually kind of, I'm gonna put it on this list, screw it. I already said it. I can't just say it and then not talk about it, but some people get amazing performance with pie. This is something though that does better when you're having intimate moments with somebody. Like if you're a Netflix and chill type of person, if you are the type of individual that wants your date, your crush, your partner to be sniffing all over your hoodie after you give it to them or something like that, this is the fragrance you throw on it because this has a huge cult following. And what's wild to me is the first time I tried this, didn't really like it. It took a few tries for me to really fall in love with this fragrance. But I remember when I had girls come in and smell fragrances in my collection, they immediately notice pie. And they're like, oh, I love that fragrance. And just to kind of give you a ballpark age range, it was between, I think one of them was like 28, 29, and the youngest was maybe like 23, something like that. So like women in their 20s still really love pie. And if it's a cold day outside, if you're making hot cocoa, if you're like, you know, having coffee with your special somebody and you've got pie on, it's a nice romantic cuddly evening that can lead to less romantic sort of activities. All right, now in terms of, you know what, I'm gonna say it. Unfortunately, I don't have the bottle of it, but it's a fragrance by Guerlain and it's called Tonka Imperial. Now, Tonka Imperial is a bougie ass fragrance. It's a part of their private blend collection, and it's very great. It's great for people that enjoy the smell of tonka bean. Sometimes tonka bean can smell just a little bit too powdery, but with Tonka Imperial, it also kind of has this gourmand touch to it that can smell almost dessert-like, but I will say, at least with some of the newer formulations of the fragrance that I've tried, it definitely has more tobacco present. So the tobacco in it kind of takes away from the gourmand vibe that I used to get prior, but nonetheless, it's a nice, intimate sort of fragrance that, again, like pie, is great for cuddle weather. And it's also a nice, unique fragrance because people don't really know private blend designer scents similar to niche fragrances, right? So you know that it's a fragrance that when you throw it on, nobody else around you will be wearing it. And in my mind, Tonka Imperial is a more feminine fragrance because my girlfriend wears it, but it is marketed as unisex, so do with that information as you will. And I think I might just wrap it up there and probably do another video for, like, you know, the different type of seasons, or if you want one of these for hot weather, I could do that. I kind of wanted to combine them all in one video, but I think it's better to kind of break them up. So if you want a fresh fragrance, low-key, sexy sort of video, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Again, a discount site link for global shipping for the fragrances I mentioned are gonna be in the description box below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.